Would you hate your parents if they were rich but made you live a middle-class lifestyle? Like they sent you to public school, bought you normal clothes, didn't get you a car on your birthday etc. But you knew they could afford it as they had a big house, expensive cars, shoes etc. This perfectly describes my childhood early teens. No, I do not hate my parents. That's how I grew up. I had no clue we had real money until well after I graduated and moved out. In adulthood, my father was my best friend and I loved him very much. Nah, getting used to a rich lifestyle as a kid sounds like the fast track to overspending as a young adult with a young adult paycheck. No, absolutely not. That's such an entitled bullshit attitude to have. No, that is childish and entitled. My parents are rich and we did live a middle-class lifestyle. And no, I don't hate them. I'm happy that I wasn't spoiled. I'm happy that I know the value of hard work. There were times when I was younger when I was frustrated that I didn't have my own computer or my own TV, because I knew we could afford it. But my parents raised us to understand that the material things aren't really that important. I'm 36. A kid having their own computer or their own TV 30-ish years ago was a ridiculous notion. Nah. I'm from a relatively rich family, but I never knew how rich we were until they passed away. I never told myself that my parents owe me anything. And everyone who worked for my parents are still working for me for past 10 years. That being said, they never compromised on good education. But they never encouraged expensive things just because we have means of buying them. Depends if they're being vindictive or trying to teach you the value of money so you don't become spoiled, but prob not. No. As long as they didn't let me struggle. No, I wouldn't want to grow up as a spoiled brat. I grew up in a 5,000 square foot house with every material thing I needed. Still, to buy my first car, I had to take a loan from my parents. To be paid back with interest to get shin guards for my soccer team. I had to weed the garden for $5 an hour to pay for them. I'm better for it. If you're talking about within the US, a middle-class lifestyle is what rich is now. The middle class no longer exists in the US. Over 70% of Americans have less than $1,000 in savings. Etc. I learned that in public school. We are rich and we live an upper middle class lifestyle, including an average size house. The only difference is that we can actually easily afford it, so there is no everyday financial stress. I don't want my kids to get used to something they may not be able to continue. I'm very glad I wasn't a private school kid. Public school is great life experience. No, my parents had money because my dad worked his ass off his whole life. He deserves it. Just because he is my dad does not mean I am entitled to it. His dad died when he was in second grade and his mom raised 7 kids by herself. They grew up poor. I am thankful he has money and can comfortable in his retirement. He never bought me a car. He tried to instill in me the way to take care of myself. I got a job when I turned 16 and bought my own. You need to grow up and get over yourself. No, I'd be grateful instead, since I was actually raised like this. I'm not an unempathetic asshole. Also, you're not rich. Your parents are. They have the right on how to spend their money to raise you. In case they are living middle-class lives themselves, I would enjoy life with them as is. In case they are bitchy rich parents in designer dresses and so on, I would ask myself what I did wrong to them. Happened to me. After I graduated college came the revelation. I wasn't mad since my basic necessities were met. They themselves lived a modest lifestyle. Nope, it teaches you respect and allows you to value money. Absolutely not. Being able to afford something doesn't mean you should buy it. If you buy your kids a car for their birthday, you teach them that they don't have to earn anything in life because it'll just come to them eventually. If you hate your parents for such a thing, you need to learn this lesson more than you think. As a teenager, probably yes. If today my parents told me we are millionaires, I would only thank them for raising me normal. I would hate growing up a rich person. The only thing I would possibly hold against them is the withholding of the best education they could have given me. As a parent, you want to give your children as many opportunities as possible to succeed. And if I had excess funds, I'd be sending my child to the best school I could afford. You mean living responsibly? Learning the value of $1? This is the most insane question I've ever seen on here. My brain can't even wrap around this perspective. People with money can afford therapy and should go to it. My parents are rich. They made me build for myself. If they handed things to me on a silver platter, I would not enjoy my life so much. This is what parents should do. What do you mean? We clothed you, fed you, put a roof over your head and, most importantly, loved you. But, because we didn't give you the glamorous life, we're the assholes. You see how that sounds, right? My stepfather is likely rich and we've lived a middle-class lifestyle. I don't like him, but my opinion of him has nothing to do with our financial situation. No, my father was loaded, but I never knew it till his death. Work for it, like they did. You still have a better life than 95% of the world population. SMH. That's how my sister and I grew up. We were taught to earn what we wanted, just like our parents did. We had plenty of money, but it was because our parents worked hard and invested well. I'd be a very different person today if they had spoiled me. And I would kick that guy's ass. IDK how a kid would know if his parents are rich. Shoot. Until I was in my 20s, I had no idea how much money my parents had. I know we had hand-me-down clothes and other frugal things. Finally, how does he think his lifestyle is less than his parents'? Where and what is the comparison? I would just be happy to have a middle-class lifestyle instead of the real poverty I grew up in. That just seems like good parenting. If I'm a child and my parents have a big house and have expensive cars, then I'm living in a big house and ride around in expensive cars, too. No. There's luxury in having the essentials. I don't care lol, that sounds still comfy as fuck. Do you? No. Hopefully I wouldn't be a giant entitled douche-canoe exactly because I hadn't been spoiled. Depends in the US? For sure. In Europe not do much. Living a middle-class life is far better for a child younger person than being a rich kiddo. Makes for a well-rounded person. You will be grateful to your parents when you grow up. The concept of having money is an adult thing. No, I'm not an entitled cunt. I lived through a life in a middle-class house that made me live the poor-class lifestyle, and when I actually became an adult they became poor due to letting their money lose 1,000 value in a hyperinflation. I'm not fucking joking or over-exaggerating, and now I live even poorer lifestyle and have no way out of it other than death. Hey. How do I feel? I don't come me with your entitled first world bullshit. By the way, if you are poor in hyperinflation, you have no way out. You can't afford shit to improve your life. You can't do shit. You have to work to eat. That's your life. You are a slave now. You should be grateful. Every poor little rich kid I've ever met is a useless mess. So you want to be a worthless leech that has no self-value? Money is a helpful tool. But if you can't manage it, then it's worthless.